All right, boys and girls, it's Glenn from Glenn's Car Collection, and we were driving my 2005 Long Beach Blue Pearl Acura NSX. It's supposedly supposed to be a sunny spring day here in New Jersey. There's only 500 clouds instead of 1,000, so here, this is a sunny day to us. So let's take this car for a little spin. Lots of people out on the road today, and it looks like we're ready to run into some slow vehicles. Up, he's turning, good. All right, so we got a 3.2 liter V6 producing 290 horsepower, 6-speed manual. This is the last year they made the original NSX, model year 2005. They only made 88 in this color, Long Beach Blue, during a 4-year period, 2002 to 2005. I forgot how many they made, about 28 or something in this color in 2005, and only made about 200 something cars this final year. This car new in 2005, and I bought it used. I think I'm the third owner. Was $93,000, and because these cars weren't selling because they had been out since 1991 with not many huge changes. Watch the cyclist, just going over, avoiding the cyclist. So these cars was $93,000 new, and they weren't selling too well in 2005, so they actually had a lease. I think that's how this car was bought originally, an $899 a month lease, which is pretty cheap for a $93,000 car. That'll probably cost you about $1,100 or $1,200 now. But again, in 2005 dollars, remember this was $93,000. Unfortunately, the bad part about hitting these roads later in the day, late in the morning, it's about 11:30. is you got a lot of slow drivers. You really got to hit them at 6 or 7 in the morning. But I was lazy and slept in. A lot of people out today. So this car has an aftermarket exhaust, so it is loud in here. There's not much sound deadening to begin with, and it has a Pride V2 exhaust. I originally had this exhaust I bought for my first NSX, which was a black and tan 95 NSX with a 5-speed manual, and then you could transfer it to what they call the NA2 NSXs, which have the bigger 3.2 liter motor. This is great on the turns with the mid-edge of the handling, from model years 97 to 2005. All right, so slow cars are going that way, so we're going this way. With my size 13 feet, it's very easy to heel toe. Now, a lot of people crash these cars because they're mid-engine, and there's probably a couple reasons for that. A, they're not used to a mid-engine car, or may not even be used to a rear drive car, because obviously it's rear drive. They sell very sticky summer tires for these cars, and these cars, they only sold about 8,900 of them total, so there's not too many tire choices. So a lot of them are very aggressive summer tires because that's what people are driving them. So when it's wet or too cold, it's really hard to get some grip, and I think that's one of the reasons people lose it. Plus, a mid-engine car is less forgiving. So you see a lot of people crash in the rain or in cold weather. But really, if you know what you're doing, it shouldn't be a problem. The car has a very long wheelbase compared to other cars this size, so it actually is very stable at high speeds. Where that long wheelbase isn't as good is autocross. You want a nimble car like a S2000, a Miata, something with a short wheelbase. This doesn't autocross very well because the wheelbase is too long. But it does give it very high speed stability. So when I was a kid, when I used to do a lot of track days, and then I used to be a track instructor, you would see a lot of NSXs on road courses, especially big ones that were open, because they had the high speed stability. You know, back in the day, when this car came out in 1991, it was pitted against the 348 Ferrari. So it beat it in every performance metric: acceleration, braking, handling. And the brakes were fine for 1991, not so good for nowadays. So they would fade on the track pretty fast. Back in the day, every car, street cars, brakes faded on the track, so the NSX was still competitive. But even if I do really hard mountain driving, not like this, but like tighter turns where you hit the brake a lot more, you will smell the brakes. You probably do need a brake upgrade if you add power. It's very easy to add power if you don't think 290 horsepower is enough, which gives you a 0 to 60 time of about 5 seconds flat. The early NA1s with 270 horsepower in the 5-speed, the 5-speed had longer gears if I remember correctly, so the 0 to 60 was about 5.7, which was about the same as your fastest S2000. And AP2 S2000. So when you buy mid-engine, you'll never go back. I've been lucky enough to have a bunch of mid-engine cars, an Exige S, Cayman S, a couple of NSXs, and I'm telling you, once you have these cars, it's just such a joy. I prefer this to rear engine, so honestly, I prefer the Boxsters and the Caymans to the 911s for that reason. All right, we'll take a right here and go to my favorite stretch, and then we'll turn around. The clutch is nice and light. Clutches for any two cars are very, very expensive. There's basically not enough surface area, so they can wear quickly, so you really got to remember to release it right away and not ride the clutch. My car just hit 40,000 miles. Everything is original except that exhaust. And honestly, I think that's the only thing the NSX needs, because it's very quiet from the factory. It was basically a luxury exotic car. And that's why I think it appeals to someone from all ages, because I've taken this on long highway trips, 3 or 4 hour trips, and it's very, it's very comfortable when you're in here. Getting in and out isn't too bad compared to other, let's call it exotic cars. And it's very reliable, keep up with the maintenance, and it doesn't cost you much. You do a timing belt every 7 to 10 years, oil changes. There are a couple problems with earlier cars, but most of them should be sorted out by now. They're 19 years old. Whoa, did I hit the horn? I thought I hit the horn there. Oh no, that's just, that was the horn. That was the engine behind me. So it's great. I don't know if it's going to come out on this GoPro with the microphone, but obviously the engine's right about behind my ears. So that's really the dominating sound in here, especially when you have an exhaust on it. Sun's coming out. All right, when I left my house, it was beautiful. The time I got up here, which is only about a 30-minute drive, it had gotten dark and cloudy. Also gets good gas mileage. When I used to drive my E90 M3 or the McLaren, that thing would suck gas like crazy. Even my Z3M Coupe, I had different gearing in there, and that was only a 5-speed because it had the S54 engine, and that was very easy to heel toe here, and that would suck gas on the highway because in 5th gear you'd be at 4,000 RPM. So I'm just going to hang out here a minute if you guys don't mind. And maybe I'll cut the film because I'm just waiting for a break in traffic here, so we can take some of my turns a little quicker. Up, here we go. Acceleration. There we go, there's some 8,000 RPM action. Only do that when your engine's warm. We've been driving a long time already. I got very sticky summer tires on here, so now they have heat in them. Not a super fast car, but what's great about it, it's normally aspirated, so when you hit the gas, you feel it going right away. There's no delay, no turbo lag. And if you drive this car for a while, and then you drive any modern car, you'll actually notice the turbo lag. If you're used to turbos, you might not notice it so much, but get back into a normally aspirated car like my E46 M3 or this car, and you'll definitely notice the turbo lag of even modern turbos. Enjoy the ride. All right, up here we're gonna go slow because there's usually police. It's a long straightaway here. So I only use 6th gear on the highway. You can get a little drone on this exhaust around that 2,000 to 2,500, so I'll keep it in the higher RPMs so we don't experience that on camera. Again, it gets great gas mileage. I probably get at least 25 miles to the gallon average, and I drive this spiritedly. On the highway, I'm sure I'm getting in the low 30s with the 6th gear. Honestly, because I had my first NSX, I've had them both for about 4 years. So 2012, I bought my first one, the NA1. And that, you know, obviously got good mileage too. I mean, who cares about gas mileage? But I forget I even have 6th gear half the time. So I'm so used to only driving with 5 gears with some of these old cars. So I very, very rarely use 6th. On the highway, this car is very, very comfortable in 6th gear at 80 miles an hour. You could do that all day, get great gas mileage. Your RPMs are very low, very smooth ride. You will have to downshift probably twice to 4th gear to pass to somebody. 3rd gear is probably my favorite gear in this car. See, now we'll get a little drone there at 2,000. We're not going there. There's some boats. All right, so we're going to turn around in here since we're there's dump trucks going every way. And that's the only problem. We're trying to have a good drive at 11 a.m. on the weekend. Yep. Let's go. Sorry, Mr. Tesla. And this car is a pretty lightweight car. It's about 3,000 pounds even. You're just under, if you get a coupe, and coupes are really, most of the coupes are available 91, 94, no power steering, and they don't have the Target till 95. And those are about 2,900 pounds. So I forget how much the Target top out at, maybe 100 pounds, 150 pounds. So this is just over 3,000. But it feels so light compared to a modern car. Unless you're driving a Miata or a Lotus, this will feel real light to you, because probably the car you're driving is probably 3,700 pounds, or maybe even 4,400 pounds like my Audi S8. So again, in these on these mountain roads, 3rd gear is my favorite gear. Very flexible, gives you enough power. Here's my favorite stretch, and I usually do this in 3rd gear. It's a little better going the other way. Smell a skunk. And obviously the car gets even more livelier as you go faster. It does take some skill to drive because it's mid-engine. If you're a good driver, it'll really reward you. If you're a novice driver, it can bite you, but it gives you a lot of warning of understeer. Unless you're doing something stupid with cold tires or slick conditions, it'll understeer a lot before that snap oversteer even comes. So when I read about somebody crashing their NSX, and that's pretty common, I wonder what happened. Either it was wet on the roads, they had tires that didn't have heat in them, but otherwise, shame on you, because it really gives you a lot of warning with understeer. Understeer gets really bad before it gets into any kind of snap oversteer. All right, we're going to turn here. Unlike my BMW, I will actually signal in this car. There we go. Acceleration. And this car just loves to be revved. Even in 3rd gear, you still get good gas mileage at 4,000 RPM. Remember, it's only a V6, no turbos. Now, you would think they would pave the roads with nobody on them, but stop anywhere. I go from my garage, do this loop, back into my garage. And literally, with the weather here in the spring, it rains so much, you know, you get one good day a week that you could do this. All right, here we got to watch for potholes. Also, if you buy an NSX, make sure it comes with OEM wheels. OEM wheels are really expensive. In 2012, it would cost you about $1,000 for a set of OEM wheels, and that's, you know, without tires or tires that needed to be replaced. I would say 4 years ago that price went up to about $3,000, and now I wouldn't be surprised if it's $5,000 or $10,000, especially these wheels, 2002 to 2005. So if you buy a car with aftermarket wheels, make sure you hold your OEM ones for resale value. Now, when you think about it, even though this car is about 5 seconds to 60, every car we've seen so far today, this has been faster than. So in the real world, you know, maybe if you watch YouTube, but in the real world, people aren't driving McLarens and Maseratis and Lamborghinis. So you're really still going to be one of the fastest cars on the road. People say these cars are slow, but when you drive them, I don't think, and you rev it out to 7,000 or 8,000 RPM, I don't think you're going to think this car is slow. I think you'll think it's quick. I mean, you don't get that turbo shove, which obviously makes a difference, but you don't get turbo lag either. And it's like driving a mid-engine E46 M3 is how I would describe it, with you know, more luxury and lighter weight. And honestly, I prefer driving those two cars over the McLaren, just because I can go to 8,000 RPM on both of those cars and not worry about, you know, going to jail and breaking speed limits. See, that's what you don't want to be around. I don't know where these dump trucks go, but that's what you don't want to be around. Get behind them, kicking up all the rocks. I wish I could just do this all day, but gotta go home, right? Alright guys, I'm going to hit some traffic here. So I think I'm going to end this video. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We're posting extra videos now that we're all stuck at home. And believe it or not, real estate agents are considered essential workers, so I'm still allowed to drive by properties. I've had no human contact outside my immediate family, so if I do drive by a property, I don't stop, I don't get out, I don't talk to anybody. Take my pictures and go home. Alright guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss those extra videos, and I will see you next time.